This is the Coaches Show with the head football coach of the North Carolina A&T Aggies, Sean Gibbs. I'm Donald Ware, play-by-play voice of North Carolina A&T football. Up next for the Aggies, the Maine Bears. As the Aggies go back into conference play, it is a 3:30 kickoff in Maine. We're coming on with the pregame show at 3 p.m. And, of course, you can listen on 103.5 FM, 1400 AM in Greensboro and the Triad. Also this week on Sirius XM Channel 383 and anywhere around the world at TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Tough loss for A&T to North Carolina Central on Saturday. We'll talk a little bit about that, but then move on to the Maine Black Bears as Sean Gibbs, the head coach of the Aggies, joins us here on the program. How are you, Coach Gibbs?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Absolutely. Just your thoughts. Tough game, the loss to North Carolina Central.
Yeah, extremely disappointed in how we played, how we performed. You know, I bear the full responsibility for that. I didn't have the guys prepared. Hats off to Coach Oliver and his staff and his team. They did a great job. They came in and they handled business, and they performed how a championship team is supposed to perform. So we got to learn from this, try to get better.
Was there, I don't know if you can call it a turning point, but I mean, you were in the game, you know, especially there in the first half. Was there sort of a play or a turning point that you could look at that where it got away from you?
Well, you know, just being honest with you, I went to Coach Jones in pregame, and I asked him, I said, are we flat or are we focused? And he said, I don't know. So I didn't get a good read on the team. I didn't feel like we came out with any of the excitement that you have to have in a game like that, and especially against a quality opponent. So I think the game got out of hand for us before we even played a snap, because we weren't mentally prepared for the amount of effort and execution and focus that it takes to beat a team like that. So that's why I say it's on me, because I didn't have us excited enough about the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely understand what you're saying, but to your point, like we even talked about last week, it's the Eagles, right? Like, I mean, you don't need much to get up for a game.
Well, obviously you do. You know, obviously you do. I didn't think so, but, you know, I have to do a great job as the head coach of getting these guys ready to go, you know, and not taking for granted that we're just automatically going to be fired up for North Carolina Central. That's the way it should be. That's the way it will be in the future, but I don't think it was necessarily like that on Saturday. And, you know, but once we got on the field and started playing, it was just, you know, the second offensive play and they score. Like, you know, that's deflating. And for the guy to go untouched, and it was just a simple thing of the defensive end was not aligned properly, and then he didn't squeeze and get to the gap like he should have, and the guy goes to the house. You know, you can't do that against explosive running backs. And, you know, it was just a day where we made Chris Mosley, he's probably a candidate for the Doak Walker Award after that game.
Yeah, he accounted for, you're right, he accounted for 5 touchdowns in the game. Yeah. The explosive plays, what do you sort of, in that game and then even maybe some of the other games, what do you sort of attribute that to, and how are you addressing those?
Well, we keep preaching it, that we have to keep the ball in front of us and then we got to win the explosive battle, and we have not done that yet. So, you know, schematically, it's one of those things where if you crowd the box, then you're putting your corners in a position where they're going to have to cover one-on-one and might give up an explosive play in a passing game. But I would rather give up an explosive in the passing game than have somebody continuously bust long runs on us. So, you know, we need to do a better job of getting more people in the box and getting the eyes where they need to be so that we can keep people from running the ball on us. That's our number one rule, stop the run. And I guess we're focusing on other things, but, you know, that's going to change. We're going to work on stopping the run. We cannot do that. We've never allowed people to run the football on us around here. And, you know, if these guys aren't learning and understanding what we're doing right now, introducing something else to them ain't going to work either. So all we can do is keep building on what we have and try to improve and getting people in positions where they can be successful.
in this game, what weren't you happy with? I mean, the outcome, I got it.
The Central game?
The Central game, yes.
I can't say anything that I was happy with. Well, let me not say that. Our kickoff team, something small. I really like the way that those guys performed, in particular Antoine Bell and Cameron Dalrymple and a couple other guys. They were really running down. They were playing the game like I want North Carolina A&T to play the football game. They were fast. They were physical. They were fearless. So I really liked those guys. And we did some good things on our punt team as well, as far as guys with their effort and technique and execution. So those are probably the biggest bright spots. And there were spot plays by guys on offense and defense, but not nearly enough. And I just keep telling these guys, for me, it's about being consistent. Consistent, reliable performance is more important than sporadic greatness. Say that to them all the time. Making plays every now and then is not what we're looking for. We're looking for people that can be consistent and reliable and do what we're asking them to do, play in and play out.
Your quarterback, Kevin White, he was 10 of 16, 232 yards, a touchdown. He threw an interception. He rushed for another touchdown. When we talked with you maybe 3 weeks ago, he was practicing with the team, wasn't clear to play, so came back much sooner than maybe anybody else would have anticipated. Speak to that, the decision to start him, and then your thoughts on how he played.
Well, we just felt like Kevin gives us the best chance of winning. He can operate the offense efficiently. We have a better chance of throwing the ball with Kev. We like where he was at as far as with his reads and his arm talent. So, we know he's not back 100%, so we didn't want to run him to death. But we felt like we could do a little bit more with Kev in the game, and we just look for steady, continued improvement from Kev. We got to cut down on the turnovers. That's not how we're going to play. We can't turn the ball over. And it was probably just, didn't really see the corner and ended up throwing a corner route into coverage. So, that's something that we can improve on, and we can coach him up and get him better and make sure that we're taking care of the football. But Kevin gives us, all of our quarterbacks give us a chance to win, but there are going to be some games where we're going to have to make a decision and go with a guy who has the best week of practice. That was the case.
42 yards rushing. I know you weren't pleased with that. What was it? Was it a combination of Central? Was it Central? Did Central have a lot to do with only the 42 yards rushing?
Absolutely. They were wearing us out. So hats off to them for that, but that's embarrassing. I don't know anybody that holds you to 42 yards rushing, and we rushed the ball 35 times. I mean, we were dominated. And all of it wasn't just people getting whooped. Sometimes it was missed assignments. But either way, we can't do that. We got to be able to run the football. So, that's why I said we got to get the culture where it's supposed to be, where guys are buying into what we're trying to get done. If stopping the run is our number one rule on the team, then it goes without being said that we want to be able to run the football. So for us not to be able to do either one of those is disappointing. But it's not discouraging because I'm a fighter and we're fighters, and we're going to keep going until we get it right.
Joining us a little bit later on in the Coaches Show, quarterback Kevin White, as well as defensive back Jonathan Campbell, who had 15 tackles in the game, 7 of those solo, tackle for loss. He had a forced fumble. I want to talk about the forced fumble. He had the scoop and score by Tim Alderman, the first defensive touchdown of the season. Just take us through that, what you saw, and it was a phenomenal play all the way around.
Yeah, it was a great play by John, getting in there and getting his hat on the ball and forcing a fumble, and then Tim made an athletic play, picked up the ball and broke a couple tackles and got us in the end zone. But, honestly, that's what I expect from those guys. And hopefully John can continue to grow from this game, because he had a big hit in the game where he used, the proper technique, where it was same foot, same shoulder. But, he also knows that a couple plays later he didn't use the proper technique, and a guy was able to I didn't run him over, but gained a couple extra yards after contact. So it just shows the value of doing things the right way. And he is a guy that tries to do things the right way, and he's trying to communicate and be in the right position. And if we can get everybody playing and operating like Tim and Jonathan and Marquise Hood and some of the other guys that are playing pretty good on defense, then we'll be a lot better. That's what it takes to stop the run. It takes 11 guys. It ain't one or two guys. It ain't the front. It ain't the linebackers. It takes 11 guys. So that's what we got to get to, and hopefully John can help us get there.
A third of the way through the season, and of course Maine, the next opponent, you get back into CAA play. What are you pleased with?
I'm pleased with the way we fight. I'm pleased that we don't give up. I'm pleased that we try to keep fighting every game. But like I keep saying, like, that's getting old. That's tiring. I'm tired of saying that. Like, fighting and not quitting is not winning football games. That's like a prerequisite for football. Like, those are things that you have to do. What we have to do is we got to learn how to execute. We got to be efficient. And if we can do those things, we'll start having some success. We still got a lot of meat left on this bone. Everything that we've been working for is still right in front of us. So it's just about believing in yourself. You can't get down. You can't go back to your old habits and start doing things that were done in the past. You can't have a bad attitude. Everybody's got to be on board. We can't have guys that's halfway in. So, we got to get everybody on the boat. And those that ain't on the boat, we got to kick them off.
Yep, straight to the point. What are some of the things, what do you feel like improvement needs to be kind of moving forward?
Oh, that's everywhere.
Okay.
That's everywhere. I think our main be our coaching.
Okay.
We have to do a better job of getting our guys to play fundamentally sound. And that's in everything. It starts with your stance. If you look at our guys, everybody's not in a good stance in everything that we do, whether we're in PAT field goal, whether it's punt, whether you're in a running back stance, a receiver stance, a DB stance, an offensive line stance, defensive line stance. It starts with your stance. So little things, we got to focus on the details. Our stance, our hands, our eyes, our hands, our hips, all those things that make things happen. Little things make the big things happen. So it starts with coaching. We got to do a better job of coaching these guys and really focus on the details, focus on the fundamentals. And then once we can get these guys to understand that, they'll be able to go out and play a lot better.
Up next, as mentioned, the Maine Bears Black Bears coming off the 45-17 loss to Georgia Southern. You said something. Everything is still in front of us. And the bottom line is the Aggies are atop the CAA right now going into this game against Maine. Want to start with Maine in terms of your thoughts on them overall, the Black Bears overall?
Yeah, well, they're a lot better than their record shows.
Okay.
We're both struggling from a record standpoint, not where either one of us want to be. But they've had a really tough schedule, and they played some really good teams, but they've been competitive. They're well coached. They have some athleticism, have some speed on defense, have some guys that can make some plays on offense. And like I said, they're going to be well coached. So I'm sure they're going to come up with a scheme and try to attack us in places where they feel like we're weak. I would anticipate them, thinking that they can come in and run the ball effectively on us. And why wouldn't they? So we got to really do a good job of preparing this week. And like I said earlier, my main focus is North Carolina A&T. That's who we got to improve on.
What did you see specifically maybe from Maine in the game against Georgia Southern? Maybe that concerns you.
Well, they were overmatched against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern just had better players than they did. They were able to make some plays, but it's hard to judge. I'm not going to judge teams on our level when they're playing an FBS school. They've played Georgia Southern and Liberty. So it's hard to really judge those guys against those teams where Maine is similar to us. They're not paying players. And they're playing against Georgia Southern and Liberty, and they're paying these guys and getting all these transfers and paying them money. So it's not really a fair assessment. The game is William and Mary, and they played them tough. So it's going to be a tough game. Like I said, I think they're well coached. They're a fast team. They're going to try to play physical, and it's going to be a unique environment for us, something different. So we got a lot of stuff worry about and try to get focused on. And the main thing is just being the best version of ourselves on Saturday.
Yeah, you're right. William and Mary Stonehill was a 3-point loss, so they've lost those games by a total of 4 points. What does the preparation for this game look like from your standpoint in practice this week?
Well, it's going to be what we've been doing. I mean, we have to come up with a good game plan first and foremost, and then we have to go out and teach the guys the game plan and work on our situational football on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then really hit everything again on Thursday and kind of primarily focus on making sure we're sound and ready to go in the kicking game. And then, of course, Friday we'll have walkthrough and we'll travel. And then Saturday it's game time. So our routine kind of stays the same, and that's pretty much everybody in the country. Once you have a routine, you kind of stick to it. You just got to make sure that all the things you're doing within that routine are effective, and if they're not, then you got to change them. But I don't think it's our routine or anything that's affected our play so far. I think it's our focus, and like I said, our coaching and our execution. So we got to make sure that we're handling those things, and then we'll be fine. I'm encouraged with the attitudes that the guys had in the meeting yesterday. Of course, there's going to be a couple guys that are not on board and will look for excuses, but for the most part, most of these guys are hungry and want to win a football game.
Coach Gibbs, any last words?
Well, a couple of things. I would like to thank everybody for coming out on Saturday. I think we had a really good crowd. Again, the band was amazing, and the crowd was amazing, and they stayed around. You know, I told somebody earlier that would have been a game where I left, but they stayed around and supported us. And I apologize again on behalf of the staff and the team. That wasn't a performance that they should be proud of, and now they got to hear that for a year. But better days are ahead of us, and we're going to keep working, and we're going to grind, and we're going to pound the stone, and just thank you for all that you do. And all that you guys will continue to do. Aggie pride.
Absolutely. Give it up for Sean Gibbs, the head football coach of the Aggies, joining us here on the Coaches Show. Up next, quarterback Kevin White, defensive back Jonathan Campbell. Welcome back to the Coaches Show with the head football coach of North Carolina A&T, Sean Gibbs. As we mentioned, the Maine Black Bears are the next opponent on Saturday. It's a 3:30 kickoff. And so we hope to see you in Maine. Well, we transition to this part of the program and going to say hello to the quarterback for the Aggies, Kevin White. And in the game against North Carolina Central, he was 10 of 16, 232 yards, a touchdown. He ran for another touchdown. Of course, this is his third year in the program. He's a redshirt sophomore from Newport News, Virginia, joining us here on the Coaches Show. What's going on, Kevin?
Not much. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, glad to have you. So now we went from the first year was KJ to Kevin. That seemed like the last couple of, which one is it, either or? Which one do you prefer?
It's either or, but I prefer my name, Kevin White.
Okay.
But I'm always Kevin White Jr. That's my name.
Okay.
So I prefer Kevin. Yes.
Kevin White Jr. There we go. Okay, we got that straight. He prefers Kevin. All right, so Kevin, just your thoughts on the game overall against the Eagles.
I feel like we could have performed overly better as a team. A lot of mental mistakes on the field, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I just feel like we could have performed way better than we did because, I feel like as a team, we're better than what we played, especially because I see it every day at practice, going against each other every day. I feel like we could have played so much better.
I mean, I got to tell you, you were extremely efficient, 10 of 16, 232 yards. I know I could tell just the interaction we have. You're about winning and about the business. But look, how do you feel like you played? I mean, this, it had been a while since you had played. 11 games, as a matter of fact, going back to last year, 11 games ago. Just how do you feel like you played?
It was my first game back. I feel like I played, pretty well. I came out slow at first. I had to get in the rhythm and everything, but there's always room to improve. But as an overall, I feel like I played a pretty good game.
How'd you feel out there?
I felt good. It felt good to be back out there after a while. I ain't played in a long while, so being out there again, it felt amazing.
Can I take you back to the day before the spring game when you got injured? What was kind of going through your mind at that point? Did you feel like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get to this point to get back on the field? I mean, I know from a rehab standpoint, I'm sure you were thinking that, but just what were your thoughts when that particular injury occurred?
When it happened, really I just wanted to stay positive. I had everybody around me, supporting me, uplifting me, keeping me in a positive mindset and everything, and then going through rehab and everything, just keeping a positive mindset, never, doubting myself and anything, like telling myself every day, I'll be able to be back. You'll be able to play again. So just keeping a positive mindset.
And coming back, being able to come back 4 months later, to even practice. Because you had been practicing with the team. Just talk about that and how good it felt to be back out there on the field, practicing with the team when, your first couple of times back out on the field.
It felt amazing, honestly, because teammates was happy to see me out there again. Especially the way everything happened in the spring. So for me to be back out there, it felt great. My teammates happy for me to be out there as well. So all we had to do is just continue to put in work and keep improving.
Talk about the quarterback room. It's a special room. It's a special room. It's got to be a special room. We played a lot of quarterbacks this year, a lot of injuries this year. Just speak to the quarterback room and how special it is.
It's a true brotherhood, honestly. We always support each other day in, day out. There's no type of hate in there. Outside of football, we always there for each other, whether it's school, life in general. We always there for each other and want to support each other in their everyday life.
Can I take you back a couple of years ago to Norfolk? Look, we're here where we are, but look, this is our first time talking. So I got to take you back to a couple of years ago. The game against Norfolk State. Mm-hmm. Your first play, you take it all the way to the house, blazing speed. You're at home, right, in a manner of speaking, back in the Tidewater area. What was that like for you?
It was a great energy. It was a bunch of fans, people I knew in the stands, much of my family that was in the stands. So breaking that first run, first touchdown, it's a dream come true, honestly.
What has it been like over these 3 years, kind of battling injury and having to come back? The resiliency you have to keep on going and now put yourself in the position you're in now.
Just be mentally strong. Not a lot of people be able to continue to do what they're doing if they was in my position, I feel like. But, just have a strong mental and a great support system around you with family, coaches, teammates, as I said earlier, just being able to be strong and keep going.
In this wide receiver core, very talented, can you speak to, working with that group?
They're a great wide receiver core. They always want to improve. They always want to get the ball, but they know like certain plays is time for them to get the ball, time for them to block, but they always be a team player. They'll make blocks, they'll go make the catch. You just got to give our receivers a chance.
Speak to your mentality going into this Maine game. I was trying to kind of ask you and Jonathan a little bit about, we're going to Maine and the whole lobster thing and all that, but you weren't trying to hear about that. You're about your business. So just kind of talk about that, the mental preparation going into this game against Maine.
Obviously, from last week, nobody wants to lose a game, especially the way we did. But so going into this week, just full preparation, stay focused, don't let no outside distractions mess us up and everything. So going into this week, we just want to win. There's no other choice, no other things about it.
What do you know about Maine? Have you seen them on film? What have you seen from them?
I watched their game against Georgia Southern. I didn't see much of the game because we just finished our game. So, but we're gonna treat them like another team. We're not gonna take them lightly than no other team. So we're gonna go in with a great mindset, great game plan, find a way to win this game.
Redshirt sophomore here, the third year in the program here at A&T. How did you end up here from Newport News?
It's just they found a way to find me in Virginia. Amante Jones, he's from the same area as me, so. If Coach Poole, he found a way to get both of us here, and then it's all history from there.
Yeah, so were you heavily recruited out of high school?
Not really. I came from before my senior year. I transferred from Menchville High School, a small school in Newport News, Virginia. I transferred to Green Run my senior year in Virginia Beach. So wasn't really heavily recruited until my senior year, and then at North Carolina A&T gave me the offer. I came on my official visit, and I loved it from there.
The football in Tidewater is really, really good football. Can you speak to that? How good the football is in that area?
I mean, it's great because we got a bunch of legends. I feel like Michael Vick, Tyrod Taylor, Lawrence Taylor, all from my area. So it's like everybody want to be the best in that area, especially in our area, because not a lot of people think a lot of good football players come from that area. So everybody want to be the best coming from that area.
Mike Tomlin's from Newport News,
yes,
right? And then Allen Iverson played football. He's a really good football player out of that area. What's your major in, and what do you hope to do with that when your football playing days are over?
My major is now liberal studies. I want to be able to go into agriculture, be able to build my own, not build, but, grow my own food in the future, be able to support everybody around me, not just going to the grocery store, be able to grow my own food in my own backyard and everything.
Oh, very cool. All right, give it up for Kevin White, quarterback for the Aggies, who joins us here on the Coaches Show. And again, a reminder, it's a 3:30 kickoff up in Maine. Conference play reconvenes, so we're looking forward to that. And remember, the Aggies are atop the CAA right now, so obviously want to kind of continue that. So let's switch gears to the defensive side of the football, and we're joined by safety. And he plays either safety position, probably plays more than that if need be. Jonathan Campbell had 15 tackles in the game, had 7 solo tackles, had a tackle for loss and a forced fumble, which led to a touchdown as he joins us here on the Coaches Show. What's going on, Jonathan?
Nothing much. Thanks you for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. Just like I asked Kevin, just your thoughts on the game on Saturday against North Carolina Central.
Thoughts on the game? We could have played better, executed the game plan and the scheme better.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, watching you play, looking at that number 27 is always seems like in every play. And not just this year. We've been seeing you improve and grow to this point to having the 15 tackles in the game. First of all, before we even talk about it, take us through you had a huge hit in this football game. Like, you had the forced fumble. That's all good. You had a huge hit in this football game. Take us through that.
It was just we playing in practice. Motion happened. I ran to the post. I read my keys, and I met him in the hole, and that's all that happened.
Well, a little more than that happened, but no, I mean, it was definitely a big-time hit. And then the forced fumble that led to the scoop and score by Tim Alderman. Just take us through that.
That was just another read my keys. Same thing we worked in practice, same formation, same scheme that they would have been running, and filled my gap and happened the ball popped loose and Tim Alderman picked it up and we scored it.
Playing free, or does it matter whether you play free or strong or rover as it was and as it is? And then, just kind of talk about that. Do you have a preference?
No, I don't. It's just really whatever's best for the team. And whatever they need me to play, I'm going to do it to my best ability that I can. And I'm going to always put 100% into what they need me to do.
How, again, as I mentioned, 27 is in on, it seemed like a lot of plays. But again, that's happened over time. Can you speak to how you've improved, continue to improve over these years?
Yeah, that was just taking every day, one day at a time, waiting on my opportunity. And I got my opportunity, and I obviously thank God and everything like that. But, yeah, just waiting on my opportunity, and my opportunity came, and I did what I could do best.
Because have you played some linebacker also while here?
Yeah. Yes, a little bit last year, a little bit previous year before that.
Okay. For you, can you kind of talk about sort of that defensive backfield room, I guess, if you will, and maybe the camaraderie you guys have?
Yeah, we're all very close. We all talk to each other like Kevin said with the QB room. If anybody needs anything, if they need a ride, they need help on homework, if they need anything, we're always there. They know they can always pick up the phone and call one of us.
And then, of course, for you, What's your major, and then what do you hope to do with that when your football playing days are over?
I'm a social work major, so I want to become a child trauma therapist into the social work.
And then how did you, in Daytona Beach, played at Maitland High School. It's a good program. How did you end up here at A&T?
So Coach Lance came down to Florida. He found me. Like he said, he asked me to come up on an official visit. I came up here, and I seen the culture. I seen the atmosphere up here. Then I loved it up here, and I committed here.
Florida football, much like I asked Kevin, and I think Tidewater football is very much underrated, but everybody talks about, the football in Florida. Can you kind of speak to high school football, that is, and sort of how that is? It's really good football there in the state of Florida.
Yes, it's phenomenal athletes all over the state of Florida and very competitive. Whatever city you go to, it's always going to be a great team to play and always competition going against.
What are you seeing from Maine? I don't know if you've had a chance to watch film, but what are you seeing from Maine, from their offense?
I've seen a little bit. Like, we got out of the game, so I only seen a little bit of it. But they're a good football team. They play hard every play, and we just got to execute.
And then lastly, can you speak to growing as not only a person, but not only as a football player, but as a person at your time now here at A&T?
Say it again?
Can you speak to how you've grown, not just as a football player, but as a person during your time here at A&T?
As a person, I've grown a lot. Coming up here at 18 and the age I am now, just figuring out a way through life, time management, communication skills. It's been a lot I've learned up here, and an opportunity I'm blessed to have.
Give it up for Jonathan Kimbrough Campbell, here. He joins us on the Coaches Show. That's about going to wrap it up. Again, the Aggies going to be up in Maine, taking on the Maine Black Bears. It's a 3:30 kickoff. We're coming on with the pregame show at 3 p.m. 103.5 FM, 1400 AM in Greensboro and the Triad, Sirius XM channel 383, and on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. We'll talk with you next week.